Welcome to another episode of the Crypto Spenther podcast. Going right into the news of Samsung is inking a deal out with the Seoul government for blockchain platform. So a Samsung subsidiary is trying to upgrade the South Korean capital, Seoul, with blockchain tech. And they're trying to roll out this technology to support the administration of welfare, public safety, and transportation. It's estimated to be finished by 2020. So, interesting thing, since Samsung is almost South Korea itself. I'm sure if there's like positive effects from this little, I'm sure they'll like do demos, and if they see positive results from that, you can definitely expect Samsung to roll it out as far as they can nationwide for South Korea. Now, Bitcoin is the top 30 world currency. It's also bigger than Korea's Nasdaq. So crypto's booming and more money is flooding in. And expect the price to, in the long term at least, keep going up because, like I said, more people coming in, but also, if you tuned in last time, you know that a lot less Bitcoins are in circulation than you think. So people are losing them. There's already instances of people losing their Bitcoin because they sent it to a Bitcoin Cash address. And, you know, sometimes other accidents happen, like you just lose your hard drive, like your hard drive dies. Something happens to the flash drive with your backup, I guess. Or you get hacked. Just like the guy from Monday's news using unsecure Wi-Fi, and he got hacked for his Bitcoins. So, expect the price to be up in the long term. Next up, Bitcoin's also worth more than McDonald's, IBM, Disney, and Nike. So, Bitcoin has a larger market capitalization than these corporations. Of course, right now it's kind of fluctuating, so you'd still expect Bitcoin to retain this title of being worth way more than these companies that do a lot of things. Even so, traditional investors are still kind of spooked about Bitcoin, even if it's showing that it's outpacing corporations and capitalization. So, big thing here. Ethereum. Buterin's unveiling Ethereum 2.0 roadmap, and he's trying to reach Visa's level of transaction scale in 5 years. And the other areas he's focusing on are privacy, reliability of consensus, reliability of smart contracts, and like I said, scalability. So, Ethereum's already really prepped for 3 of these problems. It has this thing called ZK Snarks technology to help their privacy of transaction, which is at a last fork. Their little Casper project will help solve consensus by switching from proof of work to proof of stake. And then smart contracts are going to be supported by Viper technology and a formal verification procedure. Buterin also is planning on to tackle scaling by using sharding, which could be summed up as kind of a pseudo off-chain solution that's still connected to Ethereum. But he'll have to be quick because, as we know, Raiden or Plasma are both gearing up to be the scaling solution. And projects are already looking to use Raiden or Plasma as their Ethereum choice of scale. Well, there's a solution for Ethereum scaling because this Ethereum sharding is going to be 3 to 5 years down the line. And people are looking for solutions that will be here within the year, which both of these will. So, I think Ethereum has to realize that an off-chain solution will probably be well entrenched before Ethereum fully upgrades to the point it wants to be. Users of the TradeRoute Darknet marketplace are receiving physical mail threats. So it seemed like a hack is the main perpetrator of this. The fact that a dark web marketplace got hacked and personal information is out there, that would be troubling on its own, honestly. So the hacker has this information on their physical address and sent them physical mail threatening to report them to police if they don't pay a ransom. However, the English in the letter was pretty terrible, and no one's really taking this seriously. Primarily because even if they are doing something illegal, there's no proof. It's just some random guy connecting them to a dark website without having more concrete evidence that they're doing anything. But this could lead to some users being watched by the government if they actually do get reported. So I expect the people who got that physical mail to be extra careful and probably won't be doing much dark web buying or selling in the near future. So Coinbase is growing real fast, and they're soon to outnumber the second largest stock brokerage. So Coinbase has seen a 148% user increase this year so far, while Charles Schwab has only gotten about 5%. However, the assets these two handle are massively different in not capacity, but like the amount. So Coinbase is still only handling billions, while Charles Schwab is handling trillions of dollars worth of assets. So crypto has a very long way to grow, but I'm pretty confident within the next 10 years you'll be hearing Coinbase, if it's still around, well, probably will be, someone's definitely going to be handling trillions and trillions, like easily, like 2 to like 5 trillion easily in the next 10 years. Honestly, it will probably be in the next 5, telling like the rate that the whole crypto industry is growing and how it's being legitimized faster and faster. So Tether has misprinted 15 million in the recent week, and they're still printing more and more. Side note, while this little flash crash was happening, even more Tether was printed within the last 24 hours. So real shady. If you haven't checked out the whole Bitfinex on either Twitter or his he or she's Medium page, you really need to check out Bitfinex, because they really lay down why you should be suspicious of Tether, and also avoid using Bitfinex, the exchange, because these shady Tether deals could easily mean they're doing something else that you probably shouldn't be doing. So just be careful. Use other exchanges. Stay away from Bitfinex for a while. Also be wary of any exchange that carries Tether, because it very well could affect other exchanges too. But I'm not certain how drastic it would affect other exchanges. Next up, BBVA is blockchain pilot. It cuts down on international trade transaction. So this was a really big thing here, because utilizing blockchain, they basically sped up a process that took 7 to 10 days to 2.5 hours. And it was they're using the Waves platform, so Waves, and they're automating electronic submissions of documents. The fact that it went from 7 to 10 days, from 7 to 10 days to 2.5 hours, it's insane actually, because that's just an absolutely insane amount of time saved, which translates into money saved, which translates into a lot of other things. That means faster deliveries, lower cost, the two big things. I think we'll see a lot more blockchain pilots for submission of documents, maybe something related to custom related things. It'll actually be kind of interesting to see how like ports and land checkpoints integrates blockchain to kind of expedite their like approval of freight that comes in. Also, if you're using the whole Internet of Things, you could possibly have some kind of blockchain that kind of confirms the origin of what's in the containers. That could further expedite the whole custom, ensuring these containers don't contain a whole lot of illegal crap. But there's definitely a kind of a limit of improvement there, because getting a little off topic, but it kind of runs through this scanner system, and that's probably going to be one of the biggest limits to the actual physical inventory being sped up compared to this digital documents. But anyway, this is a massive news. On the surface, it's not too exciting, but cutting down that much time is game changing. All right, Bitcoin's being accepted more in retail locations. For example, Go-To which is Korean, I believe. It's all 620 stores will be accepting Bitcoin payments. It partnered with a local exchange, ATS Coin, and they'll facilitate the transactions. So the rise of popularity of Bitcoin, expect more and more retailers to accept them. But I'm feeling like a lot of people aren't going to be spending Bitcoins. Libra is eyeing institutional investors with their crypto and tax accounting app. This is another one of those things that not really exciting on the surface, but it's actually a big deal, because having Libra kind of help manage the accounting and tax portion of crypto for these big people where it can get really complex, just expedites adoption for the bigger money and institutions. Next up, BitFlyer is coming to America. They've been approved in 34 states and could play a pivotal role in kind of shaping the crypto landscape, because they're pretty supported by the Japanese government, unlike any other American exchange. American exchanges are neutral with the U.S. government, but BitFlyer's been having pretty good like innovation allowance by the Japanese government, not being constrained by a bunch of unnecessary legislation, but smarter legislation. So hopefully BitFlyer can help a bit shape the U.S. landscape. So Here comes a shocking fact. According to a recent security report, 90% of crypto mobile apps are risk of something. So the first 30% they looked at contained, the first 30 they looked at, 93% contained a medium risk vulnerability, with 90% had a high risk. But for the more downloaded apps, higher risk vulnerabilities went down to 77% and medium risk went up 1%. So what does this mean for you? Well, the most common vulnerability was insecure data storage, which means if they store things server side, your information could be breached easier than you'd like. And they also had insufficient cryptography, which the report said in most cases this means it was implemented incorrectly, which makes sense because cryptography is not the easiest thing. So, as I was talking about the Internet of Things and my little ramble about freight, IOTA and the Microsoft team are up together with this Internet of Things marketplace. It's really database, kind of like a massive database, I'd say, because they're monetizing data in a secure and tamper-proof marketplace, so companies can utilize all this data. So just think of it, selling most likely your data. Yeah, I mean, that's basically what it's probably going to end up being. Companies selling user data or anonymous user data after they aggregate it. I guess this is good for companies, but kind of interesting to see exactly what kind of data they're publishing. Either is it just going to be research data, aggregated consumer data, or what? So we'll see. It's supposedly launched this week, and it will run till January. I didn't check out the marketplace itself, so I'll do that for next week's episode and give you a report back about this marketplace if you can get into it. I expect it's probably some super kind of closed doors type thing, because that makes sense. But moving on, Nasdaq has planned to launch Bitcoin futures in 2018. They teamed up with this company called VanEck to develop these futures contract, and if approved, it'll be unique because unlike CME, which is using the Bitcoin reference rate, and CBOE, which is using Gemini Trust for their Bitcoin prices, Nasdaq will be combining the average of 50 Bitcoin exchanges. And then the final entertaining little blurb is economist Joseph Stiglitz, Nobel Prize winner, is saying that Bitcoin should be outlawed. He says it has no social function and it's just a bubble. But as I've talked about today, especially with a rambling about the document clearance, maybe Bitcoin itself then didn't really do that, but without Bitcoin it wouldn't have been possible to have the underlying technology. So be appreciative. You can't have blockchain without Bitcoin because it wouldn't have existed without Bitcoin. Remember that. And that'll be it for today's episode. Sorry, I kind of rambled on about something that isn't super exciting, but like I said, it's really important, at least for businesses. And it's actually insane how much it will help transportation and kind of lower cost along the supply chain. But look out for a special Saturday episode. Yeah, you heard that right. A Saturday episode this week. It's an interview, the first interview. If you follow me closely, either on the email list or Telegram, you know all about this. You would have got a hint or a straight up kind of description of what's coming up Saturday. So if you're just a casual listener, tune in Saturday sometime, probably around the same time whenever you check. There'll be a new episode up. It's an interview. And expect another one probably 2 weeks after, until I get a decent amount of interviews stocked up. But yeah, be looking out Saturday for a new episode, in addition to the regular Monday, Thursday. It'll be every 2 weeks on a Saturday for the interviews. And whenever the interview publishes, make sure you definitely share those on social media, because those will last a lot longer and be more relevant to your peers when they drop. And this coming up one, you'll notice that the guy I was talking to was a bit he knew what he was talking about, because the coin we're discussing has went up, I think, around 2 to 3 times since we talked around 3 weeks ago. So I look forward to that Saturday, and I'll see you guys for another episode Saturday and Monday on the Crypto Spinther podcast. Don't forget to rate it 5 stars on whatever your platform you're listening on, and all that junk that helps me out. See you next time.